It's the Reform or Die podcast, where nothing is off limits and everything must be reformed.
All right, we got one for me. We got one for Thatcher. Thatcher, say hey. Hey. And we have one for Jacob.
The numbers, Mason. What do they mean?
Jacob is sitting here on the computer, my laptop, with it hooked up to the TV, and he's on the U.S. Justice Department searching for Epstein files. He's been searching our own names in there just to see if we're a part of it. And
we're clean.
Fortunately, we're clean. So,
we're not involved.
Or at least we're telling you we are. So we haven't seen ourselves in there yet, but
yet is the key word.
Yeah, right. So
Thatcher, have you been keeping up with the recent Epstein stuff?
Not as much as I probably could be, because I know everybody else is going to be coming out with it and talking about it. Who says that this stuff is actually legit?
The U.S. Justice Department.
Yeah, and we trust them, right?
I mean, do we?
We don't trust anybody.
I don't know, man.
I don't.
We're doing our own research right now. That's really what it comes down to.
I mean, the fact that it came out from the government, it would be the hardest to be faked, like as far as evidence for these things, right?
I would feel like it'd be the easiest to be faked.
And we have ourselves our first debate.
I don't know, man.
I mean, we question the moon landing. We still don't know who actually killed JFK.
Well,
like
we kind of do.
We do, but we don't. Like, it's,
I don't think it would help anybody if this stuff was artificial. Like, if they were making stuff up, they probably have a purpose for making it up. They'd want to be throwing people off of a trail, and they definitely wouldn't be implicating people that are within their own administration.
You're sure about that?
Would they? Why would they implicate their own administration, Thatcher?
Why not? I don't think the devil cares about administrations.
So Thatcher says everything is fake. Don't believe your lying eyes. What do you think, Kyle?
Oh, whether or not these Epstein release is all real or not?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of hard because, I trust the Trump Justice Department a little bit more than the Biden Justice Department because they were basically crooks, at least allegedly, from what I can tell. But I'm not a big Pam Bondi fan, and I am puzzled, I will admit, over Trump's things he said about Epstein and all of it. Because originally, when he was out of office and kind of thinking he was going to get back in, he said he would release the files, and then we sort of got phase one, which was a big misnomer, and then everything kind of got weird. Like, I was really jazzed about Trump 2.0 to start, and then everything just started kind of petering out, and Elon kind of got kicked out of DC in a way, and the Doge efforts kind of stalled, but now everything's kind of picking back up again. So it's hard to judge. I don't think Trump is like a baddie in the Epstein files. I'm sure he's referenced he's a billionaire, and he is in there. From my understanding, but not in a way that's, I think Jeffrey Epstein himself said like Trump's never received a massage or something like that. And there's plenty of things in there just that it doesn't seem like it's, he's like implicated in some horrible, conspiracy. But I still haven't really loved Trump's demeanor on the topic, and I don't understand why that changed after he got into office. So I think there's things we don't know, but, well, I don't know. What do you think about all that? You were kind of thinking Trump might be in it, actually, I think, Jacob.
I think at this point I would not be surprised. Nothing would surprise me at this point, which is sad. I don't think that they faked all this stuff.
Well, I don't think it's all fake, but I mean,
I would like to think that there's a process for this stuff, and it wasn't just like they didn't just make a bunch of stuff up and enter it as evidence.
My concern is that a previous Justice Department had a chance to alter a lot of these things. And like Robert Mueller, if I'm understanding right, who was the investigator on Trump when in his first term, he had some kind of relationship or some kind of connection, if I'm not mistaken, as like one of the people on a case that was an Epstein case or something. So I think DC is a very incestuous place to be, and you just don't really know what's been faked and what's real. And now with AI, it's like almost even more concerning as to what could be fake or real. But I don't know. I would not say I think most of this stuff is fake. I would say I generally tend to think most of this stuff is legit, and especially all the ridiculous stuff about like demonic stuff they were doing. And I mean, it really is proving a lot of the conspiracy theorists right again. It seems to me that this was horrible treatment of children, crimes and crimes against humanity basically happening. So,
yeah, I think being presented with all this information, assuming it is not just a bunch of fake news, which I don't even think Trump is saying it's fake news. I think it's disheartening. If you're on the conspiracy theory side of things, you always had this kind of like idea in the back of your head where you're like, oh, the evil Satanist cabal of child sacrificing, whatever.
And it's all true.
And then the shock and just that gutted feeling you get when you see that there's actually evidence, pretty reliable evidence to support it. And you're just like, oh, I didn't actually want this to be true.
But I find it strangely encouraging that we now have a lot of these documents, and like that, we're seeing how deep the rabbit hole goes. Isn't that good? I mean, we need that first. If we're ever going to shine light to fix the problem, you got to have the light first. Yeah.
Yeah. I think seeing it is good, but I wish it wasn't true. I wish it was just a theory. It's depressing to see that there's this whole like elite structure and a lot of people within the government that are all kind of in cahoots in this secret unholy union where they're doing all this stuff and saying some very questionable things. And
so what are your biggest like revelations so far out of all this? I know mine. I mean, mine was the Bill Gates one.
The Bill Gates one was crazy.
What was that one?
Basically, they found, well, I'll say this one because Jacob's got way more than I have on all this. But the one I have understood so far is that Bill Gates, there were emails between him and Epstein, or Epstein sent to himself, I'm not sure, basically saying that Bill Gates came to him or emailed him asking for an antibiotic or of some kind that he could administer to his wife, like without her knowledge, because he had contracted, like, I think it was STDs with some Russian prostitutes that Epstein had sent him or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it was like really shady stuff. And again, all of this is alleged, you know, I'm not saying it's 100%, but Bill Gates is not looking too good. And like his wife left him over what really did seem like Epstein a couple years back when she was starting to find out all this stuff. I don't know. And I think she was on a podcast even recently and someone asked her about it. And she said, you should talk to Bill Gates, basically. It's his, it's his crap, if you will, to like have to wade through. And, but yeah, the guy that was, mass manufacturing all these vaccines seems to be a real piece of crap to me, like silently, lying to his own wife. It's like, gosh, well, maybe we shouldn't be trusting him,
Yep.
But that was my big takeaway so far. That and like the demonic stuff, like Epstein had an account that they wired money to called Baal, literally Baal, like the demon. And I get it. It's like you could take one side of that and say, oh, it's just the name. It's supposed to be funny or something like that. But these people don't seem like they had like pentagrams and stuff in their like buildings and like all sorts of creepy, horrific, like satanic stuff. And So those two things for me, and that, and just like you could see they've released videos but they're like sort of blacked out with like kids and Epstein jumping around. I'm like, yeah, I don't doubt Epstein was just like such a fatherly figure that was like, above board. It does seem to be that there's a lot of substantial evidence that this dude was a creep at the absolute best and horrific, predator is what it looks like. But what else you got though, Jacob, on that, just wonderful train of, new facts we've learned?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's any like one specific thing that has enlightened me the most. It's just the whole web of communication behind the scenes, all these people working together in the background, kind of just orchestrating things. And I'm not a fan of it. It is like the whole conspiracy fact thing. Of just like, oh, there's a secret shadow government, Alex Jones style. But yeah, just seeing the emails, just kind of makes it unavoidable. And this is only half of it. And we're never going to see the worst stuff because they already said they're redacting a bunch of stuff. Anything that involves abuse or death, which is weird that they have to specify that. That indicates that those things exist in these files. It's just disturbing. And I'm not the type of person who places faith in politicians. I don't, even if they're on my side, I don't believe that they're like, these great people.
You're kind of a black pillar a little bit.
I'm kind of black pilling right now, yeah. But it is disheartening to see that a vast majority of them were all kind of they're in the in group. And the in group partakes in some really nasty stuff. Not saying everyone in the group does. Maybe they do. Maybe it's something you have to do as to be a part of the group. You have to have some kind of blackmail on you. They make you do something, film it, and say, now you can't leave because if you do, we'll tell people. I don't know, but it just kind of shows me that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes, and I don't know. Everything just kind of seems fake. It's just like it's like a facade. Almost had a slip.
What do you think, Thatcher?
I was just going to say, let's say every single thing in these files is true. 100% accurate. There's crimes in there, right?
I don't know if there's like
alleged crimes.
I mean, it's hard to tell because a lot of stuff is redacted, including photos.
But a lot of this stuff, Bezos is in there. Bill Gates is in there. Let's say
Bezos was in there?
Yeah. He pulled it up. But, let's say it is all true, right? All everything illegal stuff in there. What's going to happen? They have people legitimately committing crimes right now, and nothing's happening.
Yeah.
It is good that light is shining, to be fair. But yeah, I would not describe myself as satisfied with the results of our Justice Department so far in 1 year into Trump's second term. I would love to be seeing a lot more prosecutions. I don't understand why things like James O'Keefe's, FBI warrant, I believe it is, that's literally 100% redacted from my understanding. How that hasn't been redacted when he was, arrested. So yeah, I believe he was arrested. Some of those things I just don't understand. And you're right. It's like we arrested anyone other than Don Lemon as a high profile name,
and he'll get out. That's not. I mean,
he's out on bail right now, I think. But
oh, is he?
I think so. But that's bail. But yeah, I would love to see real, true justice, and I keep praying for that. And I think all Christians should be praying for many, many, many arrests of people who are breaking our country's laws. And, I think there's a verse in the Bible there that says something to the effect of when the wicked rule, the righteous groan, or the people groan. So we really need a situation where the country is cleaned up, and that only happens if this stuff first comes to light and then second is prosecuted, and we absolutely need that. So
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's most disheartening is that I don't see how any of this stuff will be prosecuted in any meaningful way.
Well, even if it is all true, like it's going to take years for them to go through, investigate each single case.
Well,
And then
they've allegedly been doing investigation this entire time, ever since they got the material from Epstein's Island.
how many files are there?
I don't know. This is 3.5 million that they just released. There's supposed to be another 3.5 million or so. And then there was, I think that's somewhere around 6 million is the total of documents and
As
things
we
that they
know, the government is very efficient when it comes to paperwork.
ha ha ha.
Like it's going to take them years. We'll be in our 60s by the time this all gets said and done. And by that time, all the people that are implicated in it are going to be too old to even do anything with, or it's not even going to, there's going to be basically zero consequence. I could be wrong. I probably am, but
I'm still the eternal optimist on this. Not really optimist, but I am hopeful that we will see more happening in the next few years. I do think that some of these institutions are so corrupt that we don't understand how long it will take to right the ship. I still am kind of puzzled over Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, who I thought would get in there and be a lot more hammer down than they were. Honestly, it is a little surprising to me. I don't know why that is 100%. I mean, even with the J6 pipe bomber, we got details and video and more stuff on that. And I think they even listed a name at some point. But have we actually seen any prosecutions yet there? And some of these things are just really puzzling, but I just keep praying. People prayed about Roe v. Wade for the longest time and for a repeal of that. And we have seen some pretty dramatic shifts in the culture and in people's understanding of how corrupt our institutions and our government are. So, and I do think the younger generations by and large are more awake to some of this stuff. They grew up with the internet. They understand it, so we're making more ground, I think, with the younger generation. They're not exactly Fox News viewers or right. CNN or MSNBC or whatever. They're more independent media. And I mean, even Joe Rogan was talking about how crazy this whole people are that are thinking ICE is so evil. Like Tom Homan was basically in there under Obama, and Obama gave him a medal for doing the same job, So, and Obama deported way more people. And I think all the other presidents, even above Trump, deported more people, which I would like to see more deportations. People who broke the law and came in illegally should not be coming in illegally. That used to be a Hillary Clinton talking point, literally like not that many years ago. And she sounds, Rogan was pointing out, she sounds even more intense than Trump does now about it, like 15 years ago or more. So you can tell that there's been some kind of, I don't like using the word psyop, but it basically is just propaganda, and it works on a certain percentage of the population to make people think that this horrible, horrible thing is happening when actually it just makes common sense to say, look, we need people to come in legally if they're coming in. We don't want them coming illegally. I would go so far as to say I don't want any real immigration into the country right now, but I think we're losing our culture and people aren't assimilating. So that's some of my concerns. And I think it puts downward pressure on wages for certain lower classes of society. There's a lot of reasons why, AI taking off and all this stuff that's going on. It's like we kind of need to stabilize the ship a little bit. But I don't know, Jacob or Thatcher, what do you guys think about some of that? I talked too long, so I'll pass the mic back. Thatcher, you're up.
Yeah, no, I think stopping immigration right now would be a good thing, because you want the best and brightest to come in your country if they're going to be citizens here. But it's like to fix a problem, you kind of have to stop the bleeding first. And that you kind of have to cut everything off.
Like with Epstein, I don't know how much they were dealing with this kind of a thing, but kind of steering it back that direction. What do you think Epstein's whole thing was? Was it blackmail? Was it just doing favors for people in power? Was it government adjacent illegal stuff that they kind of just shipped off to Epstein Island to do over there? Or,
I mean, to me, from what I've seen, it seems like he is just the guy who makes things happen. He knows everybody. Everyone knows him. He has the island. He has the houses. He has access to women, people. It seems like it seems like if you're in those spaces where you're high up, you're a CEO, you're a billionaire, you're a politician, you just know Epstein and you know that he can network. It's like a network thing. So whether or not that's all it was, and that just so happened to overlap with some unsavory things that apparently all these people were into, or at least Epstein that we know of, or if it was some kind of government thing that he was being run as an asset by CIA or by Mossad, which there's claims of that happening. I don't know. I don't think they would let a good... I don't think they would let something like that go to waste. If they had information on people that they could use to coerce individuals, I think they definitely utilize that because that's just politics. I think it makes sense.
it does make some of those statements that people said about the elites a little more. It kind of puts some of this stuff in context. Like, wasn't it Mel Gibson that said something about Hollywood? I think it was Mel Gibson. I could be wrong.
He said a lot of things.
But he was basically like, it's like a satanic cult that sacrifices like children, or I can't remember if that's what he said, but I don't want to misquote him. But I don't know. There was somebody that said something to that effect. And I can kind of see some of that here in these old files here. So it's kind of interesting. And now you've got Nicki Minaj coming out and becoming a lot more political. I'm like, okay, all right, that's interesting.
Going back to the possible prosecutions or what might come of all this stuff, I'm worried that, first I'll say, it's obvious that the media is not covering this. They put it out on a Friday. No news stories about it.
That is pretty wild.
Media agencies are not trying to cover it. There's some level of interference being run. If more information comes out, whenever that next batch of files comes out, and there is something in there that's like really damning, I do not think that there is any lengths that some of these people will not go to prevent people from doing something about it or looking at it. I wouldn't even be surprised if we started an entire war to distract the American people from what's going on. And it's even just looking at it from like a geopolitical point of view, this kind of stuff makes our country weak, very weak. Look at Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin right now are loving this because this is the kind of stuff that destroys people's trust in the government, and it makes you weak, and it makes you a target of opportunity, basically. I don't blame him for that. I don't blame him for seeing that. And honestly, I don't think either Xi Jinping or Vladimir Putin are implicated in the Epstein files, so that's a point for them, right? No, it's just, I don't think we'll ever see any real justice in the situation. Even if there's just obvious, like blatant evidence that some horrible things. Let's say there's pictures released tomorrow of a bunch of politicians executing or like sacrificing children and drinking their blood. What is that? What's actually going to happen?
Well, we hope that there will be arrests and prosecutions.
But what if there's not?
Then it would be like any other day right now because we have not seen a lot of prosecutions like we want to. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. it's just it's one of those things that
Have some faith, Jacob. We're moving the right direction. The
No,
ball
it's
is
good.
moving forward.
It's good that we're getting transparency. It's crazy that it's as bad as we thought it was, because usually things aren't as bad as you think they are, but it is. And I just don't know, man. Like, I would talk to my mom today, and my mom was in shock by all this stuff, because I've talked to her about this stuff, and of course she just kind of thought, oh, you're just paranoid.
You're a fringe theorist. You're a conspiracy
theorist, whatever. And I'm like, Mom, this stuff, like, this vindicates all these people that have been called crazy conspiracy theorists for the last however many years. And it's just right there in the open. And she doesn't really know how to handle that. She said she was talking to my brother about this, and my brother was just taken aback by this. He works in the government. He's a little more on the centrist side. But I don't even think he realized that it was this bad.
I mean, it does make the Ben Shapiros of the world look pretty dumb right now, because Ben was basically coming out to say there wasn't a there behind Epstein. He thought it was not, a big deal and all that.
I don't think it makes Ben Shapiro look dumb. I think it makes Ben Shapiro look sinister. I think it makes him look like he is. I don't know. We can look him up.
All right, perfect. We get to look his name up here.
Yeah, this one I pulled up. This one I pulled up was Elon Musk inquiring about going to the island, which I believe he was
allegedly.
I believe he was denied access to the island, which is funny to me.
Unless I'm mistaken, the last time I had seen Ben speak about the Epstein files, his general take was there's not much to be found there. It's a nothing burger, essentially. And from what I can tell, this does not seem to be a nothing burger to me. There's a lot of shady stuff that people did say were conspiracy theories that seem to be turning out to be true. Now, to Jacob's point, will we see prosecutions? I don't know. I am praying that we see that. So
I hope we see it too, but I just don't know if we're going to see anything happen. Like, I want to see that. I want to see these people behind bars. I think they deserve a lot worse than being behind bars. But
yeah, government's given the sword, for a reason. So
yeah, it's just, if nothing happens, it's just going to continue to go bad until the government completely tries to take over the U.S. and then you have civil war break out, essentially. And it's not going to be this side versus that side. I think it's going to be a lot of just 1v1, you'll have family and friends together and people, veterans and stuff, but you're not going to be able to trust anybody.
Like, didn't the Clintons were subpoenaed by Congress, if I remember right, and they said they weren't going to go. And then they were, one day before, they said they were going to hold them in contempt of court for not going to the hearings on this kind of stuff. I think they changed their mind or something. I don't know if that has happened yet. I don't think it has, but, we're February 2026 right now. So stay tuned on that. But yeah, the Clintons seem to be quite buddy with Epstein from what I can tell. And yeah, I mean, gosh, these people are so corrupt. And I don't know how we rescue ourselves from out from under the thumb of a runaway elitist cabal, basically, that's kind of in power. So I'm hopeful that we'll keep shining the light. I have been concerned that why didn't the Trump administration do this? Yeah, I think this was, at the behest of Congress passing a law to get them to release this stuff, right? Is my understanding correct there? Didn't Congress actually require them to release what they had from the DOJ?
Yeah.
And people are saying, so
I think it was Massey and there's a guy, what's his name? Indian guy who is a Democrat politician.
Ro Khanna or somebody like that.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
Khanna.
I have no idea what.
I think
if he's Indian or not. I just know that name.
He worked with Massey. I think he's Indian. Worked with Massey on it. I think he was one of the only other people who wanted to. But
yeah, well, and what I've heard is people are saying that we don't have the docs from the CIA. This was only Justice Department, from my understanding, and a lot of people thought there's a lot more dirty connections with documents related to the CIA.
Can you scroll back down?
So this is an email that was sent by a gentleman named Steve Baer to Alan Dershowitz, and he CC'd a bunch of people, and one of them was Ben Shapiro. So he's not really implicated, but Lindsey Graham's on here. There's a bunch of people on here. He sent this in 2020, and I'm not sure who Steve Baer is. I Googled it, and apparently there's a Steve Baer who was a American solar engineer, inventor, pioneer of passive solar technology. He died in 2025, December. But he sent this email to Alan Dershowitz and said, Alan, besides your superb defense work of Epstein and all enjoyers, Clinton, Barack, Wexner, Maxwell, Andrew, Trump, Dersh, of his hospitality, did you, clown emoji, have an operational role in the apparent honeypot blackmail ops? Don't you think now would be a great time to be reconciled to your maker? Glad to discuss. Shalom, Steve.
Sheesh.
So
that's
this came,
crazy.
he sent this email, I don't know when Epstein quote unquote killed himself, but yeah, this was pretty early on. So I'm not sure what this
Who
is.
uses emojis like that in emails?
Old people.
Do they,
Boomers. Yeah, boomers are weird, Thatcher. Never underestimate a boomer.
I'm just saying, on an email?
Well, that is kind of odd when it's a government thing, but yeah, I guess we could also talk too about, do we think Epstein's still alive or not?
So there was a prison guard who anonymously posted the morning that Epstein killed himself. He anonymously posted on 4chan, basically describing that he saw there was a sick call and Epstein was taken out in handcuffs in a wheelchair, and there was a van that showed up to take him away. And then after that is when they found him dead in his cell, apparently. And that was just kind of blown off, I think, at the time, as just being someone on 4chan messing around. His name came up in the FBI documents that were released. He is actually a prison guard at this prison, and he is attributed to that anonymous 4chan post by the FBI. So he legitimately posted that. He does work at the prison. Now, was he just saying that, or did that actually happen?
I feel like there'd be a pretty easy way to figure that out.
I mean, if we had the cameras that weren't missing the 2 minutes of time for some reason?
That is still crazy, and I don't understand Bongino saying, "I've seen the file. He killed himself." I'm like, I mean, and then they released footage that was clearly tampered with.
Mm-hmm.
It's just surprising.
Apparently, there was a mortician that came out shortly after the pictures of Epstein came out, because there's pictures of him deceased, and the mortician said that is not a dead body. I don't know how she knows this, but I guess morticians know what a dead body looks like. But in her expert analysis, that was not actually a dead person. That was someone with makeup.
I guess I'd be betting he's probably did die. But then again, I don't really remember any talk. Usually when these things happen, you have conversation about what happens with the body in the end. Like with Thomas Crooks, he got cremated like immediately after the assassination attempt on Trump, which is crazy in and of itself. But we knew immediately what happened to his body. But I'm trying to think, like, I don't remember anyone saying, did Jeffrey Epstein get buried? Like, what happened? Do you guys remember?
No idea.
Not saying that proves anything one way or the other. I mean, my guess would be he's probably gone. But then again, I don't know. My guess is that people wanted him dead.
Honestly, dude, after all this stuff I've read over the past couple of days, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's alive somewhere in witness protection program.
I mean, I'm not saying he couldn't be. He could be. And some people are saying that or hinting at that. I don't know. But hard to know what's up and what's down, right?
I mean, if he's got blackmail on all these people, because that's what he's got to do. I mean, everybody in politics, even at low local levels, they have something on them for the most part. Like wouldn't be surprised if 99% of them do at some point, right? So anybody who he has blackmail on would want him dead, right? I mean, so sure, they would be fine with him dying, right? They just don't want stuff like this, if it is true, to come out.
Yeah. I think I'd agree with that. I guess it would make sense for him to be if he's cooperating with the DOJ for him to be in some kind of witness protection program, which it's not beyond the pale for them to fake somebody's death to put them into witness protection. That's happened before. Especially if keeping that person in prison is a threat to their life, because I don't know how hard it would be to get somebody whacked in a New York prison, but I think if you have enough power and money, you can make it happen.
There's plenty of prisoners that don't like guys that do stuff to kids anyways.
Well, I mean, they put him. They put Epstein in a cell with a murderer, a dirty cop, dirty cop who was a murderer. Yeah. So, like, that seems like a setup to me. So either he was assassinated or he's not dead, and they had to get him out of there.
Yeah, I think the least likely scenario in my mind is that he killed himself.
Yeah,
I struggle with that one.
Who was it, Crowder, that like tried to physically like show what he would have had to do to like do that to himself?
Yeah.
And he couldn't do it.
Yeah, and the dude strikes me as like psychopath, sociopath anyways. Like he just did not have the kind of emotions a human you would expect to have. Obviously, his soul was so freaking damaged, you know? I don't know how many Horcruxes that guy had, but he had split his soul into 1,000 pieces. So, you know, something tells me he wasn't exactly committing suicide to get out of, you know, something.
Maybe every politician is a Horcrux, you know?
Makes you wonder, man. It really makes you wonder.
No, that's my official theory that I'm just going to stick with now, is that he went into witness protection program. They did have to have a body there, right? So they killed somebody, and that's why there's broken bones in the neck that shouldn't be broken when you hang yourself. And then he's living somewhere right now, working with somebody. Who knows who?
Probably out there with Michael Jackson and Elvis.
Thatcher's not buying it.
He's kicking it with crooks right now in a hot tub.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There's no way they let crooks stay alive. No shot. That's wild.
I don't know, man. It's just we live in a weird time.
I feel like our not to change the subject too much, but I do feel like you have to know something about everything in the modern world, like to just get by. Like, got to know a decent amount about economics, politics, you know, your faith. You got to be able to know about your job. There's just a lot of things you got to know about. Maybe we're just too terminally online. I don't know, but I do feel like some of these things, you know, knowing that your elites are sacrificing children potentially on altars to Satan. I mean,
I think that's important to know.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing to know, you know?
Yeah, it's disheartening for sure. All that to be said, though, we know as Bible believing Christians that Christ is king and he's going to win. He's already won. The victory, it's already called, you know, the game's over. But
don't give up hope, Jacob. Don't give up hope.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not.
He's unblackpilling right now.
That doesn't mean that we should not seek justice in our time on this earth. I think that's what God wants us to do. God wants us to, ideally the government is there to be the sword, right? And to enact God's justice in a just society. But we should not forget about this stuff. We shouldn't let this get memory hold. If next week we start a war with Iran for some reason, I think we should stay focused on what they're probably trying to hide, because this is big stuff, and wars have been started over much less.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts? I mean, one of my closing thoughts I'll just say is, this is a personal wish of mine, and I probably have not handled myself as well as I could have in this, but I have wished that pastors would speak more into these types of things. It's just, I don't remember hearing too much about, Don Lemon and the people that, disrupted a church service and broke the law. I don't remember hearing too much about that from the pulpit, and you may say, well, Kyle, that's, not that big of a deal. They were just there, temporarily. They were just trying to make a point not to, interfere with whatever stuff happening in Minnesota. It's like, okay, yeah, you could say that. But part of me wishes that our from the pulpit, we would hear more on stuff that has been labeled as political when it is really moral. And the body of Christ is, we're part of a body. We feel when something happens to other parts of the body, right? So, when people are attacked or threatened or church services are stormed, I would hope that we would speak up, against that kind of stuff. And I get that Sundays are, a lot of times we see it as just exegete scripture and apply it to your congregation as best you can, or help them apply it. I get that. But I do personally, I wish that we spoke more about this kind of heinous evil from the pulpit. It's partly why I almost enjoy following podcasters and political figures on X more than I probably enjoy listening to some sermons, because I see this is where the rubber meets the road, right? Like, whether or not we have arrests here really does matter. I think it really matters. Yeah. And I would love to see a more masculine brand of Christianity rise up, across our nation that calls for these kinds of things, arrests for the wicked, for people to be brought to justice. So that's my kind of closing thought on all this stuff. That's why at least for me, I find it something we should be tuned into as Christians, and we take it seriously. It's very important to me. And if, I'm a Trump fan, but if Trump's administration starts stepping in the way of justice, I'm not a fan of that. You know what I mean? I would like to see justice carried out. So I'll pass it to Thatcher, or we'll go Thatcher next. Closing thoughts, and maybe pass to Jacob afterward.
Yeah, no, we have to, I think that's the most important
thing. Just maybe.
is to be grounded in Christ. And we have to call this stuff out from the pulpit. I feel like a large majority of the church, of church services, isn't necessarily like bringing people to Christ. You want people to come closer to Christ and learn more about Christ and become more like Christ. But you do that through study of Scripture, but you can apply it to real life situations. I mean, what was it? There was was it a Mormon church in Ohio or Kentucky like a couple months ago? Some guy goes in and shoots it up. We didn't say anything about that. There was nothing about that. I know it's a different denomination or whatever, but there was nothing said about that, And I know maybe there was with security teams and stuff like that, but there was nothing. Everybody that's coming to church, from what I know, it's like, not a care in the world, which, following Christ, yes, you shouldn't be worried necessarily about that, but we still live in the real world. We need to be prepared for stuff like that. We need to be aware of the evil that's in the world. And there's so many people that call themselves Christians that are just, all their life is sunshine and roses, and they're just living their lives. Oh, I'm going to follow Jesus. There's no pushback to them because they're not actually pushing their Christianity, their faith into their lives. It's something that's a part of their lives, but it is not their life. But yeah, I want to see arrests. I hope we do get arrests. I hope we get a lot more than that, but we do need, like you said, Kyle, a masculine push, Christian, godly men to stand up and push back, no matter what happens. I like Trump as well, but if he does not do the right thing, we call him out for it, and we stand up against it. And again, that starts with us. We've talked about this before. Like, that's why we just got to I think we just got to put this podcast out there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you got to put it out there.
We're still in beta right now. Yeah. I'm kidding. We're getting there. We're getting there.
But you put it out, it might be the worst thing ever. Put it out. So what? We're saying what we believe. And if we don't believe what we're saying, then why are we putting it out? So, I mean, it starts right here. It starts in our hearts. It starts on our knees. And I don't know, that's kind of me.
Word. Jacob?
Yes. Yeah, I think I would love to see these things addressed from the pulpit. That doesn't mean that our pastors need to become podcasters who talk about current events, but when things like hundreds of Christians being massacred in Sudan, or rioters breaking into a church led by a journalist,
air quotes were used there.
Air quotes journalist, we have to talk about that stuff. We don't need to be all in the current events every single day and freak people out or distract them from the message. But when these kinds of things happen, people are already freaked out and they're coming to church seeking guidance sometimes, they're like, man, I really don't know what to think about what's going on. I just found out this week that there's a bunch of really rich people who run this country that are probably satanic pedophiles. What do I do with this? How do I cope? And then they go to church and the pastor says, hey, today we're going to be talking about
Psalm 3.
Yeah, Psalm 3. We're going to be talking about, I don't know.
Justice for the wicked.
No, today we're going to be talking about something. It's like,
love yourself.
Loving, parenting, whatever it is. And you're thinking, this is a great message. This is something that I need to know. This is something that I need to study. But I also would love a little bit of guidance on this horrifying thing that's going on. Because people do look to pastors for guidance. And I think overall it would be a benefit to the body if we would get some of that every so often on things that are real life happening right now, affecting every single person in this country. I would love to see that. And you're right. I'm on the security team. I'm not going to divulge what we talk about on the security team, but yes, when these things happen, we're talking about it instantly because we have to. And we don't want everyone to have to worry constantly about some kind of attack that could happen, but it's reality. We have to think about this stuff. And I think if these things are not addressed, then people will go elsewhere. They'll go to some other source to find an answer, to basically be told how to feel. Because they'll go somewhere else and someone will be saying, maybe it's Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes will be saying, hey, you need to feel this way and you need to do this. And that might not be correct. Like some things Nick Fuentes says are correct. Some things he says are not good at all. But if you don't address these things, you're leaving the door open. So that's my 2 cents. But Christ wins in the end.
Really well put. Yep. I do think there's some, the modern world, you can get a sermon anytime on the internet. You can get teaching at any time on the internet, but some things are happening in real time for everyone in America, right? Every week you have a set of current events that happen and we can talk about it. So I really like what you said there. And yeah, you know what? Christ is king and we don't lose heart. Sometimes when we're scared or when things are tough, it is difficult, but we put our faith in God and we just keep coming back to He is involved in our lives and in our world. And when we see these, depressing things, we try to take what hope and encouragement we can from His scriptures. And, I do think this stuff coming to light is very good. And we will continue to pray for the wicked to be brought to justice. And so, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Amen.
Key point there you said is keep coming back. We have to continue to come back to Christ and continue to fight every day. It's what people did for Roe v. Wade. I mean, what people did for a lot of things.
Long battle.
Long battle.
Yeah. And still more work to be done, right? Mm-hmm. So
yes, a lot more work.
A lot more work to be done, but we keep praying. We know that we can't do it ourselves. God's the one that has to ultimately help us in all these things. So yep, I think we can leave it off there. Thanks for talking, guys, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody in the next one. Peace.